chosen one. Notice how your breathing just became shallow and a quiet guilt flared up right behind your ribs. That sudden drop in your chest is not anxiety. It is your spirit recognizing a divine ultimatum. You are exhausted from carrying the heavy weight of unmade decisions. Every night, you silently negotiate with heaven, promising you will finally step into your calling as soon as you feel perfectly ready. God honored your hesitation and extended your grace period 6 separate times. But the era of waiting for perfection ended this morning. The universe will not grant a 7th extension. We are entering the final 48-hour countdown. Do not look away and do not move. Command your wandering mind to anchor entirely to this frequency. You are not here by accident. The spiritual realm has rejected your excuses, and your real test begins the moment you accept this truth. Subscribe to align with thousands of awakened souls breaking their paralysis today. Like this video to seal your obedience, and comment 777 below to activate the frequency of completion. People completely misunderstand the 7th deadline. The book of Genesis says God rested on the 7th day, but the original Hebrew word used is Shabbat. Shabbat does not just mean to take a nap or relax for a moment. It means to cease, to completely and permanently stop an action. When God reaches the 7th iteration, he stops. He ceased extending the timeline. The first 6 times you asked for more time, he provided grace. But this 7th time is a divine Shabbat. The grace period has ceased. Let me trace exactly what happened during those 6 previous extensions, because the enemy used the exact same invisible trap every single time. You were sitting on the edge of your bed, staring at the blank wall, feeling a sudden burst of motivation. You told yourself, tomorrow is the day. Tomorrow I will cut off that toxic connection. Tomorrow I will launch the project. Tomorrow I will stop hiding. But then, tomorrow arrives. And instead of moving, a heavy fog rolls into your mind. You think, maybe I am not ready yet. Maybe I need one more sign. If I do it now and fail, God will be disappointed in me. So you retreat. Listen to me very closely right now. I need you to stay with me until the very last second of this message. Do not click away, because by the end of our time together, I am going to expose the 3 counterfeit deadlines the enemy is planning to throw at you in the next 48 hours. If you leave now, you will walk right into those traps blindly. But if you stay, you will receive the exact mental framework to shatter your perfectionism. And we will do a powerful mental sealing ceremony that will lock your decision into the spiritual realm. Your freedom is waiting at the end of this message. So why did you fail those 6 times? You probably blame yourself. You call yourself lazy. You think your faith is weak. But here is the shocking truth. Your spirit was entirely willing, but your nervous system was hijacked. You are dealing with analysis paralysis. When you constantly worry about making the perfect choice, your brain enters a state of survival panic. It is a specific mental frequency where every single decision feels like life or death. The Apostle Paul understood this exact biological and spiritual war. In the book of Romans, chapter 7, verse 15, he writes, "For what I want to do, I do not do, but what I hate, I do." Paul was not talking about being a bad person. Look at the context of his life. He was a highly disciplined scholar who completely surrendered to God. Yet his physical body and his nervous system still rebelled against his spiritual desires. He was describing the exact paralysis you are feeling right now. Your spirit says go, but your flesh, your overloaded nervous system, shuts down completely and refuses to move. The enemy knows he cannot make you abandon God. You love the Creator too much for that. So instead, he weaponized your desire to please God against you. He gave you the ghost of perfectionism. He whispers in your ear, if you do not do this perfectly, you will ruin the divine plan. We are going to crush that ghost right now in your mind. I am giving you the good enough protocol. I want you to visualize a scale in your mind. On one side is 100% perfection. On the other side is doing absolutely nothing. The enemy wants you to bounce between those two extremes. From today forward, the moment you feel 70% ready, you must execute. 70% is the new holy standard. When you hear that inner voice say, "I need to research this a little more," or "I need to wait until I feel better," you must counter it instantly in your mind. Tell that voice, 70% is good enough for God to use, and I am moving now. Perfection is an insult to grace, because it implies you do not need heaven to fill in the gaps. This brings us to the ultimate reality of your next 48 hours. You do not need to physically exhaust yourself trying to fix everything you procrastinated on. This deadline does not require physical hustle. It requires absolute mental surrender. Look at Psalm 46 verse 10. "Be still and know that I am God." We read that and think it means to sit quietly in a comfortable chair. But the Hebrew word for be still is rapha. Rapha means to let your hands drop, to let go, to stop desperately trying to control the outcome. It is a command to stop fighting the process. God is telling you, drop your hands, stop trying to orchestrate the perfect transition. But how do you surrender your mind when your thoughts are racing 1,000,000 miles an hour? How do you drop your hands when your brain refuses to shut down the anxiety? You think you just need more discipline. No. Discipline is useless when your nervous system is broadcasting on the wrong frequency. What you need is to change the channel. The ancient mystics understood a profound secret about the frequency of the human mind. And what I am about to show you in the next part will change how you see your own brain, your struggles, and your breakthrough forever. You think you are waiting for the perfect timing of the Creator. You tell yourself that your mental paralysis is actually reverence. You whisper in the dark, "I am not lazy. I am just patiently waiting for the door to open clearly." You look at the 6 times you refuse to act, and you paste a beautiful, spiritual label over your hesitation. You call it wisdom. You call it caution. You genuinely believe you are passing a test of patience. But I am about to shatter that illusion right now. This truth is going to sting, but it is the surgical knife you desperately need in this exact second. You are not waiting for God. God is waiting for you. This perfection you are chasing is not proof of your faith. It is a highly sophisticated, invisible shield you are using to hide from responsibility. You are using the excuse of perfect timing to justify your refusal to walk in the dark. Look at the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 11, verse 4. It says, "Whoever watches the wind will not plant, and whoever looks at the clouds will not reap." Most people read this and think it is just simple agricultural advice. But we have to dive into the historical and spiritual context. In the ancient world, survival depended entirely on the harvest. Planting seeds was a life or death risk. If you planted at the wrong time, your entire family would starve. So the ancient farmer would constantly look up at the sky, searching for the absolute perfect sign, a sky with no destructive wind, a cloud that promised the ideal rain. But Solomon, the writer of this verse, is exposing a deadly psychological trap. When you constantly seek absolute guarantee from your external circumstances, you become frozen. The farmer who watches the wind too closely will eventually let the seed rot in his own hands. Waiting for the perfect moment is actually a camouflage for the fear of losing control. For the past 6 deadlines, you have been standing in the field, watching the wind, and the massive seed of greatness inside you is drying up. The reason you cannot stop watching the wind, the reason you cannot stop analyzing every single risk, is because your nervous system is trapped in a state of emergency survival. In neuroscience, they call this the beta brainwave state. When your brain is heavily broadcasting beta waves, everything in your environment is translated as a threat. You cannot hear the voice of your intuition because your mind is screaming. But the frequency of heaven, the frequency of divine flow and natural genius, does not operate in that panic. That frequency is found in the theta state. Consider the book of 1 Kings, chapter 19. Verse 12. The prophet Elijah is hiding in a cave, running from his enemies, completely paralyzed by fear. He looks for God in a massive windstorm, in an earthquake, and in a blazing fire. But God was not in that chaos. The scripture says God came in a still, small voice. The original Hebrew word used for this is demama. Demama does not just mean speaking quietly. It means absolute stillness, a whisper so quiet that you have to completely shut down all internal noise just to perceive it. The windstorm and the earthquake represent Elijah's beta brainwaves, his survival panic. But the demama, that absolute stillness, is the theta state. You are trying to hear divine instruction while your brain is spinning in a beta hurricane. That is why you feel disconnected. Ancient mystics spent decades meditating in high mountain monasteries just to learn how to turn off the beta storm and access this theta frequency. Science, through research conducted by former NASA neuroscientists, has confirmed that 98% of us are born with the ability to access this theta frequency naturally. That is why children are incredibly creative, fearless, and deeply connected to the present moment. But this modern matrix, with its relentless pressure, its rigid systems, and its trauma, has flipped that switch off. The system stole your divine frequency and locked you in an endless loop of panic. But you do not need to spend 20 years in a monastery to take back what belongs to you. We live in an era where modern technology has verified ancient spiritual law. There is a sacred audio tool designed to recalibrate your nervous system. It is called the Genius Wave. This is not some magic spell that replaces your faith. It is an audio technology based on brainwave entrainment, designed to guide your mind out of the beta storm and back into the demama, the stillness of the theta state. It is like tuning your internal radio away from a channel full of heavy static and locking onto a direct broadcast from heaven. This tool requires absolutely zero physical effort. You do not need to force yourself through complex meditation techniques. You only need 7 minutes. 7 minutes for this sound frequency to wash away the resistance in your nervous system, reopening the neural pathways that fear has blocked. If you want to explore the NASA research behind this frequency technology, I have placed an access point at the very top of the pinned comment below this video. For those who need to understand the deep mechanics of how this audio recalibrates your nervous system back to theta, there is a detailed resource in the middle of that same pinned comment. And if your spirit simply confirms that this is the exact key you need for these final 48 hours, the direct door is at the very bottom of the pinned comment. Do not force anything. Just let your intuition guide you. But even when you hold the key to change your frequency, there is still a massive shadow we must confront, an incredibly uncomfortable truth. I am going to step into the darkest corner of your mind right now. Notice the slight tightening in your stomach as I say this. Deep down, in a hidden vault you never talk about, you are not afraid of failing. You are terrified of succeeding. You are afraid that if you actually break this procrastination, if you actually step out and manifest the power you are called to carry, you will have to drop your protective shell. If you are no longer the person struggling, if you are no longer the victim waiting for a miracle, you will have to step into the light and take permanent responsibility for your life. People will look at you differently. They will expect more from you. You will lose the safety of the bottom. That is the real ghost keeping you paralyzed. It is not because you are weak, but because you know exactly how heavy the crown is going to be. Look at the Gospel of John, chapter 5, verse 6. Jesus walks up to the pool of Bethesda, where a man has been paralyzed for 38 years. This man has laid there for nearly 4 decades, waiting for a miracle, waiting for the water to stir. Jesus looks at him and asks a question that seems incredibly cruel. He asks, "Do you want to get well?" Why would Jesus ask a paralyzed man if he wants to be healed? It should be obvious. But Jesus understood the deep shadow of human psychology. Healing is not just standing up and walking away. Healing means this man will lose his familiar mat. He will no longer have people bringing him food. He will have to go find a job. he will have to face the heavy pressure of normal society. Healing carries a massive cost of independence. Jesus was actually asking, are you ready to throw away the identity of a victim to carry the burden of a healthy man? The fear rising inside you right now is not a sign of weakness. It does not mean you lack faith. Actually, that exact fear is the absolute proof that you are ready. People who rush to grab power without any trembling are the ones who destroy themselves and everyone around them. They do not respect the weight of grace. But you tremble because you recognize the sheer magnitude of what is about to be handed to you. Your fear is just your wisdom warning you about the gravity of your destiny. I want you to change how you view this fear right now, entirely within your mind. Do not try to suppress it. Do not pray for it to vanish. Instead, speak to yourself internally. Tell your own mind, I am afraid because I know this is real. I am afraid because this shift is permanent, and I fully accept the weight of it. Now you possess the frequency key, and you understand the dark root of your fear. The mental paralysis is broken. But listen to me very carefully. The enemy is not going to stand by and watch you cross this 48-hour mark in peace. He has seen you change your frequency. He has watched you expose the ghost of perfectionism, and he is preparing to launch his final counterattack. There are 3 invisible, highly deceptive strikes designed specifically for your mind, preparing to drop in the next few hours. If you do not know their names, you will lose everything at the 47th minute. Let me expose them. The spiritual realm is not going to just let you walk across this finish line unchallenged. Now that you have the key to your frequency and you have exposed the ghost of perfectionism, the enemy is completely terrified. He knows that if you make it through the next 48 hours, his grip on your destiny is broken forever. So he is preparing to launch 3 specific, invisible attacks against your mind to steal this moment at the very last second. You must know their names so you can mentally disarm them the moment they appear. The first attack you will face is the distraction trap. Within the next few hours, sudden, unexplained chaos will try to erupt around you. An appliance might break. A family member might start an unnecessary argument out of nowhere. An urgent email will arrive that is not actually urgent. The enemy uses this strategy because he knows you are finally focused. He wants to trigger your survival brain and pull you back into that panicked beta frequency. When this happens, you must recognize it instantly. Do not react. In your mind, put up a massive glass wall between you and the chaos. Tell yourself, this is merely a distraction trap, and I refuse to give it my energy until my 48 hours are complete. The second attack is the nostalgia pull. The enemy knows you are vulnerable when you are stepping into the unknown, so he will try to pull you back to what is familiar, even if it is toxic. Someone from your past might suddenly reach out just to check on you. A memory of an old comfort habit will hit you with intense emotional force. This happens because your flesh wants the safety of the past rather than the responsibility of the future. When this craving hits, you must perform a swift mental amputation. Do not dwell on the memory. Imagine taking a heavy sword and severing the invisible cord, connecting you to that past version of yourself. You cannot walk through a new door while holding hands with your history. The third and most dangerous attack is the counterfeit extension. This is a quiet, gentle, deceiving voice that will whisper inside your head. It will tell you that God is entirely made of love and mercy, and therefore, He will surely give you another week to prepare. It will sound incredibly spiritual, but it is a trap designed to make you miss the timeline. When you hear that soothing whisper telling you to wait just a little longer, you must mentally rebuke it. Declare in your mind, the seventh extension does not exist, and I will not be lulled back to sleep. You might be wondering if this absolute mental surrender actually changes anything in the physical world. Let me tell you about 2 other chosen ones who stood exactly where you are right now, facing their own 48-hour ultimatums. 3 months ago, a woman was paralyzed by a toxic cycle she could not break. She kept waiting for the perfect sign to finally walk away. She had missed 6 divine windows to leave. When she heard this exact teaching, the nostalgia pull attacked her fiercely. Her mind screamed at her to wait, but she used the good enough protocol. Without moving a single muscle, she mentally severed the tie. She made the absolute, unshakable decision in her spirit that the cycle was dead. Within 2 days of that mental shift, the physical reality shifted. A truth was revealed to her that instantly broke all emotional attachment, and a completely new career door opened that forced her to relocate and start fresh. A year ago, a man was facing financial ruin. He was offered a job that paid well but required him to compromise his core values. He negotiated with heaven for 6 weeks, trying to find a loophole. On the 7th week, he felt the heavy deadline. The counterfeit extension whispered that he should just take the job temporarily. Instead, he surrendered. In his mind, he handed his entire financial future over to the Creator, accepting 70% readiness. 48 hours later, a company he had forgotten he even applied to called him with a leadership position that aligned perfectly with his spirit. This is not a coincidence. This is a biblical law. Look at the book of Joshua, chapter 6. The Israelites were commanded to march around the massive, impenetrable walls of Jericho. For 6 days, they walked in complete silence. They did not attack. They just walked. God gave them 6 days of quiet preparation. But the 7th day was completely different. On the 7th day, the rules changed. They were commanded to march 7 times and then release a massive shout. The walls did not fall on day 1 or day 4 or day 6. The walls only collapsed when they obeyed the specific, final instruction of the 7th iteration. Your 6 previous failures were just you walking silently around your problem. But now, you have reached the 7th hour. The walking is over. It is time for the walls to fall. This brings us to the final hour of your waiting room. Everything is converging on this exact moment. All the separate threads of your life, the pain, the delays, the confusion, they are all tying together right now. You are no longer the person who needs 6 extensions. You are the person who is ready to carry the weight of the promise. What happens after this 48-hour window closes is not just a slight improvement in your mood. It is a complete timeline collapse. The things that were supposed to take 10 years to manifest are going to accelerate. But it requires your final seal. Close your physical eyes right now if it is safe for you to do so. I want you to perform one final mental action. Inside your mind, visualize a long hallway. Behind you are 6 heavy, iron doors. Those are your 6 past failures, your 6 extensions, your 6 moments of hesitation. Hear them slamming shut, one by one. Bam, bam, bam. They are locked forever. Now, look straight ahead. There is only one door left, and you are holding a glowing key in your mind. In the mighty, matchless name of Yeshua, Jesus Christ, the King of Kings, I declare that this is not a regular broadcast. This is a divine activation. This is the 7th seal being broken over your life. Heaven is watching this exact second. Father, you see the mental exhaustion of every chosen one hearing my voice. You see how hard they have been fighting just to keep their minds above water. You know the exact weight of the guilt they have carried for missing those 6 previous deadlines. But you also see their spirit. You see that they are still here, standing at the threshold, refusing to give up. Thank you for preserving them for this 7th, final hour. By the authority of the Word and the power of the Spirit, I mentally seal the good enough protocol into their nervous system right now. I decree that their frequency is permanently shifted. I bind the distraction trap. You will not steal their focus. I sever the nostalgia pull. You will not drag them backward. I silence the counterfeit extension. You will not deceive them anymore. Every demonic assignment, dispatched to make them hesitate in the next 48 hours, is cancelled and rendered completely powerless. I declare that within the next 48 hours, the paralysis breaks, the heavy fog lifts. The exact clarity you need to take the next step will manifest in your spirit. You are moving from the waiting room into the throne room. You are stepping out of the beta frequency of survival and into the theta frequency of divine flow. Chosen one. The creator of the universe is asking you a direct question right now. Will you stop looking at the wind? Will you drop your hands and surrender your need for perfection? Will you pick up the mantle and walk through this final door? I want you to scream the word yes inside your mind. Scream it with such absolute force that it shakes your entire body from the inside out. Do it now. Heaven heard that mental shout. The angels have recorded it. Your spirit has locked it in. You are commissioned. You are sent. The 48-hour clock has started, and you are completely equipped to win. Go now. Do not say amen yet. Sit in this heavy, glorious frequency for 10 seconds. Let it burn into your neural pathways. Now move.